Welcome to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society, whose mission is creating unity through music, but as I also like to say, making connections through music with the intention of bringing peace. And today I am located in Studio One, the worldwide headquarters of the Planetary Gig Society, and our guest is not too far away, out in Maryland, on a farm, sitting by a wood stove. I'm very happy to be able to talk with and introduce Marcus Sims. Marcus, thanks very much for taking the time this morning to have a conversation.
You're welcome, Jefferson. Thanks. Happy to talk with you.
Yeah. So we haven't met that we know of, I guess, but I was introduced to you by my friend, Jason Walker, who I attended Victor Wooten's Spirit of Music camp with, and I also did interview him, and we're having ongoing conversations about the book Nada Brahma and rhythm and peace and music and all kinds of good stuff. And Jason had talked about and sent me information about what he's doing with you, TaKeTina, which we certainly want to ask about. And when I injured my knee, I was talking about that I had started using some tuning forks. I wasn't sure exactly what I was doing to try to help heal my knee, whether that was nuts or not. And he said, "Oh yeah, Marcus just got some tuning forks, so maybe we'll check in with him." So here we are, and looking forward to talking about a lot of stuff with you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So when did music really kind of come into your life? I know you mentioned earlier your father was, played music, and you and your brothers have been musical, playing in groups for a long time. But sort of what was your musical trajectory? When did you first remember being into music, and how did that evolve to where you are now?
Well, my dad played the guitar and played the harmonica, and he was raised in Texas, and he would sing these old country songs around the house sometimes. But I think I really started getting into music on a personal level in high school, and it was really because I liked this girl.
Great.
Pretty common in the world of music that girls and music and musicians go together.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so anyway, she was a cellist, and she had friends who played the violin and the viola, and they had a string quartet. And another friend was a composer and played the recorder. So sometime in that period, I started playing the recorder, and then I started writing music.
Well, writing music right off the bat.
Yeah, not that I knew anything about it, but I think music comes naturally, so
true.
You can jump into it. And so I actually I pursued that for a while, and when I went to college, I studied music composition. What I got my bachelor's degree in was music composition from Shenandoah Conservatory in Winchester, Virginia. And I guess actually before I went to college, I started playing the mandolin. I hitchhiked up to Alaska and spent some summers up there, and I had this romantic image of the troubadour.
Ah, yep.
And so the mandolin fit in well with that image. And so that's probably why I picked that thing up. Yeah.
That's cool. And you were in groups with your brothers for a while, and I guess other groups as you grew up.
Yeah. I played in a bluegrass band with my two brothers. My brother John played the banjo, and Bill played the guitar, and I played the mandolin. So we were called the Grinnin' Berry Pickers.
Great.
Chambersburg, Pennsylvania. And then when I went to school down in Winchester, I was in a band. They were all students at the conservatory, And so we had a band called Oxymora, which is spelled Oxymora. That's the plural form of oxymoron.
That's great. That's great.
So we were all studying classical music, but the kind of music we were playing had, folk roots. So we had mandolin, oboe, guitar, and bass. That was the basic instrumentation. And so we performed around a lot. We recorded an LP back in the 80s.
Nice. And you've been with other groups, or you is mandolin still your main instrument, and are you still playing in groups, or?
Well, I'm not playing in groups anymore, although I still play with my brothers. So they mostly live in this part of the country, and whenever we have a family gathering, we pull out our instruments. So I know your theme is peace through music, and I can very honestly say that instead of talking politics at Thanksgiving dinner, we played music instead, and I'm quite sure that we created a lot more peace than talking politics would have done.
Perfect. That's probably right. Yeah, more music around the holiday dinner table sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, for sure.
So maybe we should leap into the TaKeTina. I know something about it, but you'd be a much better person to sort of describe what that is and where it came from, how you got into it, what you do, what people do, what it's for, I guess.
Well, TaKeTina is a musical form that is it's for the purpose of creating inner peace, and it's for the purpose of learning about life, with the basic idea that life itself is a very rhythmic process, and TaKeTina works directly with rhythm. And so if you look at life, obviously we have the seasons that are rhythmic. We have waves on the ocean that are rhythmic. We have, apparently, so they say, electrons spinning around atoms, and they do that in a rhythmic way also,
Mm-hmm.
So basically from the subatomic level to the cosmos level, the planets, there's rhythm all through those realms. And so the universe itself is very rhythmic, and because we are part of the universe, that means that we also are very rhythmic. We have rhythm deep inside of us. And unfortunately, in our modern society, with all the machines that come in, we can lose touch with our native rhythm. Instead of walking everywhere, we hop in a car and we zoom at 60 or 70 miles an hour, and there's all kinds of noises and all kinds of things that are not part of the natural rhythm, and so modern humans can lose touch with the cycles of nature. We can turn on our lights and watch TV and stay up all night instead of going to sleep like we naturally would when the sun goes down, So TaKeTina is working to kind of awaken within us our own natural rhythm.
Yeah, one thing I was thinking about, for a while there in my 20s, I lived on an island in the Potomac River, and the wind and the water were a huge part of every day. But the moon was also critical. I mean, it was, if the moon was up, you could see at night. If it was a full moon with an east wind, the tide would be really high. If it was a full moon with the northwest wind, it would be really low. And the moon became a really big part of my life then. And now I can go, days or months and not really really notice the moon, which is obviously another big rhythmic aspect of, life on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah, and as everybody is aware, I think, we're in a pretty challenging point in time on the planet.
Right.
All kinds of environmental challenges, all kinds of challenges with our democracies, with our government, with wars in various places. There's a lot of challenges. And so one of my answers to those kinds of challenges in my own life is to reconnect to nature, because nature is where we come from ultimately, and nature is how we are here on this planet. Any healing that occurs comes through nature. Occasionally humans can assist in that, but basically you cut your skin and it heals naturally. You don't have to do something necessarily.
Right.
Sometimes you might have to sew it up if it's deep enough, but basically it heals through nature. And so I believe in the power of nature. And again, rhythm is part of nature. And nature moves in rhythm. Rhythm is one of the primary manifestations of nature. So with this TaKeTina, what we are doing is let me just mention that I studied TaKeTina with the founders of TaKeTina, and that's a man named Reinhard Flatischler. He's from Vienna, Austria, and his wife at that time was Cornelia Jecklin. And so they were both my teachers, and I did the basic training, which was 30 days a year for 3 years. So pretty intense training.
Yeah.
Then I did a 2-year advanced training after that, and then I've continued to study. So I studied with them for about 15 years all total. Wow. In TaKeTina, what we do is I guide people on a journey in rhythm. And we use our own bodies as our instruments. So that means speaking rhythmic mantras like TaKeTina, TaKeTina. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
The gamma la, gamma la, gamma la, gamma la. Another one might be gamma la, taki, gamma la, taki, gamma la, taki, gamma la, taki. So that I did a 4 mantra, I did a 3 mantra, I did a 5 mantra.
Wow, I'm feeling that just listening to you here. My body started moving.
Exactly, that's the power of rhythm. And so, besides working with rhythm, or let's say an aspect of rhythm is number. 3, 4, 5, 6, 12. All of these numbers have identities. It's not just counting, like, counting apples or something. It's not just about that. That 5 has an identity that is different than 4. And 3 has an identity that is different than those other numbers also. And you can easily sense that if you listen to a waltz compared to a samba.
Right.
That because of the numbers that they're working with, they have all these different qualities. And so part of rhythmic education is to learn what are the different qualities of these numbers, And so I digress.
No, this is so fascinating. I'm really enjoying listening to this and hearing about it.
Yeah, and so with TaKeTina, we start with rhythmic mantras, and then we take the rhythm in our voice and we translate it into steps on the ground. So there's simple pulsating steps. There's steps that have a little motive in them, or there are steps where you add up different things together. There's a variety of steps. So when you start stepping, then the rhythm is beginning to work very deeply in your nervous system, because every time you take a step and you shift your weight from one side to the other, your propriocentric systems are activated. The balance systems in your ears and in your brain start responding, and nervous impulses are sent throughout your body, just through stepping. And so we build up steps, then we might add a clap layer that is different than the steps. So so you might have, at that point, you might have 3 different things going on. You're speaking a rhythmic mantra, you're stepping, and you're clapping. So that might be 3 different layers of rhythm.
Wow.
So what's important about that is that you begin to shift your perceptions from a linear mode of perception to a simultaneous mode of perception, where your senses move into a more relaxed state, a more open state, where you can perceive these different things going on at the same time. And it's a very different state than like multitasking, which is where you're jumping from one thing to the other, but you're not really perceiving 2 different things simultaneously.
Right. Correct. Yeah.
And so that's actually a pretty stressful state, to be multitasking. But simultaneous perception is a state of deep relaxation.
And being in the now, I guess, being in the moment, because you have to be, because otherwise I suppose you would just fall down and start blabbering or something. You couldn't hold it together.
Well, exactly. Yes, you have to be in the now, And if you start thinking about something, you will immediately fall out of the rhythm, So the rhythm, this kind of rhythm work is very helpful because it gives you immediate feedback. If you lose your focus in the now and start wandering into the past or the future, you lose the rhythm.
Well, that's pretty powerful. And you basically have classes or workshops. I know you have some coming up, and how does that kind of work?
Well, so we've just started a series of 6 different sessions here in Clarksville, Maryland, and we are doing like 2.25-hour sessions on a Thursday evening right now. And we take people on a journey.
You've been doing this around the area,
yes,
for a long time, or for some amount of time. How does it go? You go into a room, you're sort of chanting and moving your feet, and for a while, and then what happens?
It's a group process, and myself and Jason Walker, we are the guides for the process. I lead the process, and Jason plays the surdo drum, which is a very big bass drum from Brazil. And so that's like the mother drum at the center of the circle. Mm-hmm. So we're in a large room, and we're basically standing up, and we begin this journey. And so I guide people in a, I would call it, you could call it a lot of things. In general, I'm congenial and helpful in guiding people. And I'm guiding them deeper and deeper into the rhythm. So I have to observe and see, that guy, he's a professional drummer, so he's getting his steps in really quickly. But this other guy, he's a novice, and he's having a lot of trouble with his steps. So I have to think of ways that I can help him get deeper in, And at the same time, I have to keep the professional drummer engaged enough so he doesn't get bored.
Right. Wow.
So TaKeTina is actually a very excellent process for doing that, because you've got so many things going on at one time, and because each person gets to decide how much of the, you could say, the matrix, the body and mind matrix of rhythm, how much to carry, So if it's getting a little too complex, then somebody might simply do the steps and not worry about the claps at all. Or the other thing is, if it gets too intense, then they can just disengage. They could go sit down for a little while, or they could lie down in the center of the circle while the rhythm is going on all around them. Because you might know that if you're trying to learn music, and if you're trying too hard, it makes it more difficult to learn.
Right.
So in this case, if somebody is trying too hard to keep it all together, it's better if they just relax and lie down and take a break and passively receive the information of the rhythm. And then when they get back up again, they'll probably be in a different place, and they can, each person has to find their own edge of the learning edge,
And so what effects does this have on people when they're there? I mean, right after they're done, sometime later. What are some of the types of ramifications or things that have happened that you've seen or experienced with doing this? It sounds really powerful stuff.
Sure. Well, let me mention that once we build up this rhythmic structure in the body, then I pick up my berimbau, which is a Brazilian musical bow, and that gives me a tone which will support our singing. And it also, I play rhythms on the berimbau, so it's kind of a driving rhythm that also gives a tone to sing on. And so we begin doing call and response singing. So if anybody has ever done a kirtan, it's somewhat similar to that, but we're not singing the names of God, but we're singing rhythms. We're singing syllables that represent the rhythm, and so it can be a very joyful process. We're making music at that point, and music is generally a lot of fun to do. And so we go call and response, and through the call and response, I continue to guide the group deeper into the rhythm. So I can sing calls that are laying out exactly what the steps and the claps are doing, rhythmically. Or I can sing a call that is, say, offbeat of the claps. People might find that challenging, so I can sing calls that stabilize the rhythm, and I can sing calls that, while still rhythmically accurate and still a part of the rhythmic matrix that we are working in, they will be too much information for some individuals. Like, you're singing the double time offbeats. That might be too much information, and that will basically pop a circuit in their awareness, and they'll fall out of the rhythm. All of a sudden, they will have no idea where they are in the rhythm. And so, so what this is basically, this structure is built up and it has a certain stability, but sometimes if you shake it up, it forces people to let go, and they sink deeper into the rhythm. They might lose the rhythm for a moment, but then when they come back in, they'll come back in at a deeper place.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I'm kind of feeling rhythms in my body as you're talking, and trying to figure out how you walk and chew gum at the same time. It's because drumming is like that. And I guess any kind of music, you're doing different things at different time and trying to coordinate it all together. It's such a teaching thing. But so do people
so
then go? Yeah, go ahead.
So I didn't answer your question yet about the effects. So we go do this musical process for a while, 2.5 hours, and then it gradually fades. We get quieter and quieter and smaller movements, and then eventually everyone lies down on the floor, lies down on a blanket, and they just go into their own personal space and they let the experience resonate, because we've been pulsing the nervous system, the body, our awareness with rhythm for a substantial period of time. And so you want just to let that resonate. So what we've been doing is very active. We're standing up, we're stepping, we're clapping, we're singing. And people find that when they lay down, all of a sudden they discover, oh wow, they're in a deep trance, or a deep state of being that where they might all of a sudden notice the blood pumping in their body, really feel that. They might have their thoughts might be absent, a clear mind, inner silence. Maybe memories might emerge from their grandmother's porch, when they were a child. Or they might have some insight about their own life. So it's a cultivation of this kind of state of being, which I like to say it's like cultivating the state of being music.
Wow.
So actually being a musical being yourself, which is very natural for us. And so TaKeTina is to help us modern humans remember this.
Wow, it's so profound. It's something like I feel like I need, and a lot of people need. We tend to forget who we are, whether we know who we are or not. But certainly, rhythm and music vibration is part of who we are, and it sounds like a fabulous thing to do. How do people learn more about TaKeTina or what you're doing? It's spelled like TaKeTina, right?
Exactly. So it's TaKeTina. And so if you go to TaKeTina.com, that's the website of Reinhard Flatischler. And there's a lot of information there. They've done medical studies with TaKeTina, and it has profound effects on the brain. And there's just a lot of information there on that website. If people are interested in my classes, well, maybe I'll just give my email address. Would that be a good idea?
Sure. That's great.
So the email address is Rhythm for Life. So that's the number 4 in the middle. So it's RHYTHM, the number 4, LIFE, and then it's 011235 @gmail.com. And so you can certainly send me an email. I'll be happy to put you on the TaKeTina list, and I'll send you notices of workshops. Currently, we're doing an evening workshop on a Thursday once every 2 weeks, but we'll also be doing full day workshops and weekend workshops, things like that, which allows you to go much deeper into the TaKeTina rhythm.
Man, I'd like to check that out. Are there other folks, in the country and I guess in the world, leading these types of things like you do?
Yes, and there's one TaKeTina teacher actually that lives near me here in Clarksville. But other than Pam, the nearest TaKeTina teachers are in New York City and in Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay. Yeah, if people want to know more about that, they can check in with you. This is fabulous. I'd love to come try that. My knee's a little bit, I can't drive yet, but soon. I'm coming along soon. But speaking of my knee, one of the things that one of the reasons Jason suggested reaching out to you is I'm kind of believing in this vibration thing now, and that, healing vibrations, it would make sense. And I missed the last step on the stair and tore my quadriceps tendon and had surgery, and now I'm kind of in a leg brace for a while. And but I thought, oh, tuning forks, man, that it's got to help, right? And so I looked on the web and I bought a couple tuning forks. I've sort of been using them. I've been trying to do that in conjunction with rhythm, and I honestly don't know what I'm doing. And I know you're not a tuning fork expert, but that you have a tuning fork set. And I guess the question is, what is your perspective about tuning forks, and why did you get a set, and what are you learning or hoping to learn, and what's out there? I'm sure you know more than I do about tuning forks.
I think it was Nikola Tesla who said something about, if you want to know the secrets of life, think in terms of energy and vibration.
Right.
So what that means to me is that, yes, life is rhythmic. Life is about frequency and vibration. And also this, many religious traditions speak of the world of illusion, which is the manifested world as we see it. We see the surface of things, but there's a deeper reality in that the manifested world is actually largely empty space. Just like if you look out towards the heavens, it's mostly empty space.
Right.
There are stars and everything, and they say that it's a fractal universe. So the way it looks out there is also the same way it looks in here. Inside my own body, it's largely empty space, with a few things there. And so if you think of it that way, then you could see how something that's vibrating could have an effect in our physical bodies, because of that the bodies are not like these really solid kind of things.
Uh-huh.
So I do have a really nice set of tuning forks, and I've worked with them a little bit, and I'm intent on exploring more. They sound great, and they produce a lot of really high overtones. So you play a couple different ones together, and you hear all these high overtones.
Yeah, I find it fascinating. There are things on the internet about using tuning forks for healing and different frequencies for this and that. I don't know a lot about it, but maybe we'll check back in on that after a while and see what else we can discern. And I again, it's TaKeTina stuff is really amazing, and really hope people will check that out. But any other things that you might want to say or thoughts you have about, you're obviously a thinker and a musician and all. Other things that people can do, musicians might think about, try to do to really help, I guess, make a better world, have a more peaceful world, overcome some of this chaos and problems that we have.
Yeah. I think that whatever you can do to cultivate being present in the moment is a good thing. That, Gandhi was right that we have to be the change we want to see. So that means we have to change our own being to begin with. Some people go off the rails a little bit because they see they have all this stuff they want to change in the outer world, but they're not focusing on their own inner world. And so I would certainly advocate that we work close to home, starting with ourselves, creating peace in our own families, playing music in our families, singing songs together. And then the other thing, which is something I've learned over the years, is whatever you want to do, practice is practice is the thing. Anything you want to do, you can do it if you apply yourself and on a regular basis you practice. No matter what it is, you can get better at it if you apply yourself and you practice regularly. Every day, every couple of days, every week. Then in 1 year from now, you will be in a much different place than you would be otherwise. So just have faith in that and go for it.
Well, those are good words of advice. I really want to thank you, Marcus, for taking the time to explain these things about TaKeTina and give us some of your thoughts on that. Just really, really thankful and appreciative for doing that. And I'm sure that I'll end up seeing you soon. I gotta show up at a TaKeTina workshop pretty soon.
That sounds good, Jefferson. I'll put you on the email list and let you know what's happening. And thanks for listening. Thanks for the opportunity to share about TaKeTina.
Okay, cool. Marcus Sims, everybody, thank you very much.
All right. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to Planetary Gig Talk, Tales of Music and Magic. I'm your host, Jefferson Glassy, Chief Spiritual Dude of the Planetary Gig Society. We talk with musicians and others about the power of music and how we can use music to help create a better world. Please check out our website, www.planetarygigs.org, for information about some of the organizations promoting music and musicians, resources about the power of music, books, movies, articles, including new research on music and the brain. We welcome your support. The Planetary Gig Society is a Section 501c3 charitable organization, and you can donate on the website. You also can receive a free email signature block demonstrating your support for Planetary Gig Society. Please follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Planetary Gigs. And we want to thank fabulous musician and teacher Eric Weinberg of Little Eric Studios for the Planetary Gig Talk music titled Chill Kid, It's Saul. So please check out Planetary Gig Talk on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Subscribe and hear all the upcoming episodes. Thanks very much.